Good afternoon. It's a spring-like March day in Montana. The air feels really warm today. The trees are starting to have buds on them already. There's been birds migrating north. And winter's definitely lost its hold over northern Montana.
Purest way. When you explode, it's my holiday.
I spent 9 months of 2022 researching and writing a book that addresses relationship trauma and recovery. It addresses a lot of other things, but I think the focus is allowing people to look inside of themselves and see not only how to heal after they've had relationship trauma, but also the benefits they've gained from the experience, the direct experience. Their body, mind, and soul can learn from events that feel traumatic or not feel were traumatic. The book is called Love Truth. The book's title is Love Truth. And it was written based on looking at how trauma, even from our past, will impact our relationships. And not just our interpersonal relationships that are friends and family and significant others, children, parents, those types of things. But relationship is really how you relate to any events in your life. You have relationships with the environment, with your coworkers, with your community. You have relationships with money, with food. You have relationships with intimacy and your mental state. So there are many relationships or many aspects of your experience that you relate to. I spent a lot of the winter listening and meditating to, I think it's pronounced Francis Lucerne. He's an Advaita. It's interesting how any time in my life's experience when I was much younger, I would not have been able to, I guess, digest the words, or as Muji Baba would say, swallow the words that Francis was speaking about. But it's really your own words in a way. As Anna Brown would say on YouTube, that I'm speaking to myself, because the words that you hear from anyone are perceived through your own filters. And so it is really your own understanding speaking back to yourself. Or life sharing life with life.
Cold bones.
In Love Truth,
Yeah, that's my love.
I
She hides away like a ghost. Ooh, does she know that we bleed the same?
during the time I was writing Love Truth, I wrote from direct experience. So I utilized what my truth is, what I could confirm through my direct experience, as a guide for the words that I place in each chapter. I didn't use an outline, although there's really that's not possible. I loosely use the outline of my life's experience, of how we learn. If you've been through any type of traumatic experience and you search inside of yourself for why it impacted you and what perhaps you learned and benefited from, no matter how traumatic it was, whether it just was gaining emotional maturity or wisdom, or learning a valuable lesson about how you perceive the world, or how the world, I guess, perceives you.
Ooh, don't wanna cry, but I break that way.
So the book would flow out
Did she run away?
through the stages of life's traumas. There's everything from post-traumatic stress disorders to complex post-traumatic stress disorders that are not one single experience. That is a very broad catch-all for what people are experiencing. Trauma in this world will often create a feeling of anxiety or irrational fear inside of the individual who's experienced the trauma and is living it and reliving it and reliving it.
Oh, in my blood. She was carried up into the clouds, high above.
And this trauma from an event in your life's experience, say that when you were a child, can impact your relationships as you move forward. They can create not only toxicity in your relationship, they can make it actually difficult for you to have a healthy bond with somebody, or trust yourself and then somebody else. Inside of that same experience, the person who is giving their heart or their truth to a relationship and they find that the other half cannot because of a previous experience, which we often call baggage, or some type of mental health issue, or something from the past that is they're carrying with them on their current experience, which isn't happening. I try and explain to people it's irrelevant. Whatever happened in the past is over. It's irrelevant. Whatever you're bringing up is just something that's trying to create anxiety inside of yourself. If you have a thought about something in the past, look at why are you having the thought? Where is it coming from? Why are you trying to relive it? It's not relevant. You learned that that was not what you wanted to allow in your life, or that wasn't a positive experience, or the experience moved away, or whatever, it ended. It's done. It's gone. What you learned inside of it is with you now. You could look at a book written by Bessel van der Kolk, and Bessel's book clearly show you that the body remembers traumatic experiences, and it will carry them with him. And when it experiences stimuli that is related to that previous traumatic experience, you'll express that. And if it comes down to a personal relationship, your partner won't understand why you're overreacting or underreacting, or why you behave very conservatively or very liberally. Those things are based on your life's experience, not on some arbitrary choice that we make. Problem with it is, if you've suffered trauma and you're protecting yourself through some type of anxious behaviors, you will make others around you suffer in your anxiety, attempting to have them make sure that you don't feel uncomfortable, which is impossible. Comfortability comes from inside of you, not from inside of anybody else. Being comfortable with yourself and with this world is a result of being honest with yourself. The events from the past, no matter how traumatic, are not happening right now. And if your mind tells you that something is wrong or you need to be anxious, then it's a signal, a clear ability for you to discover what it is about you that is in conflict. Resolving the conflict is discovering the truth that you're not in control of the things that you thought you were. People, what they think and don't think, what they want and don't want. Now you know that. You know that truth about yourself. You also know the truth that you're anxious about certain things.
See your face when I black out. I'm never coming back.
In Love Truth, not only do I discuss some of the entry pathways, the experiences in life that create the trauma, I also talk about how your perceptions and conditioning and your local environment can influence how this trauma will impact you. For example, the duration of the trauma. If you can recognize, for example, that somebody that abused you has nothing to do with you, you're not less than, you're not a victim, you're not any of that stuff. This is just something that happened, and it happened inside of somebody else. You were just there to witness it and recognize that that's not you. You recognize that, yes, you were abused, although you did not abuse. You experienced the abuse, and it showed you a darkness. Now you know the light. Now you know that you would never in your heart treat somebody with abuse because you've seen how it can impact you. Or you can't learn the lesson. You continue to abuse yourself and others because you don't know how to relate to the world outside of abuse. And you need to look inside of yourself and be honest with yourself if that's what you're doing. I wrote the book with the understanding or the sense of truth that in a time that we live in where people are suffering from a lot of mental and emotional stress, there's lack of connectivity. The pandemic created a lot of fractures in society. The way that people used to socialize and experience each other's time together has drastically changed and will continue to change. It's the flow of the universe.
I watch the leaves turn red.
But many people consider their life experience not to be beneficial, even tragic. And in those times, it does seem real. Your mind will make it real. Even though you've been given the privilege of life and a life experience, your mind doesn't want to hear that. It wants to know why it's not getting happiness or why it's experiencing what it believes is pain. The messages that are always around you, guiding you, are built out of the core of your heart. The only way you can get comfortable with the core of your heart is to be honest with yourself. And it's difficult to be honest with yourself if you've been conditioned to believe in the future and concentrate on that rather than concentrate on right now. The future is unknowable. If people knew what the future was going to be, predictable at any level, they would all become Bitcoin billionaires or win their Super Bowl bets. Everybody would stay married. There would be no surprise or anything. But because life is completely unknowable, it then creates discovery. And when you prepare your core on a daily basis to be strong and healthy, you know how to take care of yourself, then that core can adapt to whatever this environment provides. If you expect the environment to twist and bend to what you need to make you feel more comfortable and make you survive, you will not. And you will suffer inside of that desire. There are many, many platitudes and opportunities and speakers, life's coming directly at you. And there are many ways for you to improve your core beginning right now. Maintaining a spiritual balance, which is meditation, yoga, prayer, whatever you want to call it, but focusing on not thinking about the future or the past. And that's the hardest thing for most everybody out there. The other is caring for your body, whatever that is. If it's daily exercise, or if it's just getting up and stretching, whatever it is, you know what you need to do to take those extra steps to care for yourself on a daily basis. Eating healthy, and it's not a suggestion, it's what you know about yourself. Everybody I know, I could eat healthier, I shouldn't eat that, I shouldn't overeat this. If you're totally happy just overeating, well then you might be a little bit addicted to food, and you can look at the truth inside of yourself about that. Food is very pleasurable. And many, many people organize their entire lives and those around them so they can have this pleasure of food. Unfortunately, that's another level of dependency and addiction.
You do that to my head. So tell me if you want my love.
Validation, socialization, what other people may or may not be, how they may be behaving or perceiving the world. Those are also dependencies, and they create addictive behavior.
And tell me if you want my love.
Emotional and mental health are obviously the key to your happiness, which is really what you're searching for. If you think that this life should be about competition or getting back at other people or some level of retribution or a need for closure or any of those things, that's just your ego, DNA, inherited primate activities. The privilege of life and everything that's given to you is considered to be, it's not even usually considered. With the mind, the tissue inside of your skull would like to do is it would like to constantly focus on stuff in the future, getting little dopamine hits now and making sure that there's some available in the future. You have to organize it. So it's sending you on little missions. The brain is actually the one suggesting that's what you do. That's where that thought's coming from, because it's going to get a dopamine hit, and that's also going to the brain. And the brain is going to die at one point. You're only serving your own dopamine. And that's through money, through sex, through external substances, through gambling, through eating, through exercise, all many ways. You know what the truth is inside of you. You know what you're up to. Nobody else does. You could not know the truth inside of me any more than I can know the truth inside of you. It's not possible. Yes, we're sharing a conscious experience. I can verify that by speaking to another life force, but I can notice that in the birds and the deer and trees as well.
Closed eyes. I've always tried to control things. In the end, that's what controls me. Maybe that's why I'm
The reason I speak about the addictive aspects of everything around us, the stimulus that we get anchored to, incarcerated by, so that we can feel like we are in control of something that went out of control when we were traumatized. And so being honest with yourself that yes, I can easily get addicted to doing certain things or not doing certain things so I can get little dopamine hits to my brain, and I'm organizing my whole construct around that is keeping my traumas alive, allowing me myself to accept the world as it is, the universe to flow like a river. It's constantly moving and changing. There's no stop to the sunrises and sunsets. There's no stopping the rivers. There's no ending the seasons or the rotations. None of this happens. So change and constant change is what you are experiencing. That's what you've only known. But when you speak about those things, the mind gets involved and starts having these debates about, what it wants and doesn't want. The reason it doesn't want change is because it doesn't want to lose access to its stimuli that's creating the hits of chemicals to your brain, which is just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's not right or wrong. I'm not saying anybody is worse or better than anybody else, but it's an opportunity to look inside of yourself. And once you climb up to the mountains of self-indulgence and you look down on them, they become molehills, and you can easily eliminate them. And there's many ways to choose strength rather than weakness, to do the right thing rather than the fearful or the desired thing. And being honest with yourself requires you to recognize when you rationalize and justify in those times that you didn't expect the world to change, and you lose what you perceived was a benefit. You've been given the privilege of life through all the changes up till now, and that privilege of life, when you're happy, that experience is tremendous. It's indulged. With that privilege of life and that extension of that benefit, your mind thinks that it can hold on to a moment and stay there, and that would be stagnation. There would be no change or growth, and that would probably be death. Your mind doesn't realize that you have to continue to expand and evolve and continue to move. Obviously, I mean, there's no other way to look at it. It doesn't change. I mean, you can look at it any way you want. In my experience, that's all that's happened. All that's happened. My book, Love Truth, will be out within the next 30 days. And I will make an announcement when it does come out. And we will start our book promotion, which includes, I think, some really great experiences. I'm going to interview individuals who've been through a variety of trauma in relationships. A lot of times it's personal with their significant other, but other times the trauma can be with their family, their parents or their children, or with their employer or their community or some organization that they got themselves involved with and they experienced trauma. So as we interview these individuals, we can, as life experience is willing to look inside of ourselves, we can look at how we perceive our own traumas in others. And once we start to realize that these things are not uncommon, that we are all experiencing levels of stress in our environment. And it's not just with the external, it's also with the internal. And when you've suffered trauma, that means you have an internal conflict that is not being resolved. And those people who have serious trauma can harm themselves or others. And so it's important to recognize that the trauma is not us, and that no matter how much pressure and discomfort these experiences may have, getting behind them creates recovery and allows you to stand on your own feet, no matter what point you are in your eternal existence. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. If you did, I appreciate you looking at the truth inside of yourself, and I appreciate you taking care of yourself, loving yourself, loving the truth inside of you. Thank you.